Akai AX80. The AX80 is a polyphonic analog keyboard synthesizer manufactured by Akai Professional in 1984. It was Akai's first venture into the professional electronic musical instrument market. The AX80 used digitally controlled oscillators, DCO, and filter circuitry based on the Curtis Electronics CM3000 372 integrated circuit. It was marketed as part of a line of Project Studio equipment called the Akai Music Studio System, which included the S612 digital sampler, the MR16 drum machine, the M8 sequencer, and the MG1212 multitrack tape recorder at a price of $1695 US. Features and cabinet. This electronic keyboard is an 8-voice polyphonic, digitally controlled analog synthesizer. It has 64 memory locations for sounds patches, arranged in 2 banks of 32 each, plus a bank of 32 factory preset sounds. The instrument has basic Midi implementation, but lacks the ability to save or restore sounds except by using cassette tape. Front panel. The front panel has a volume knob, a master tuning knob, a data entry knob for programming patches, modulation and pitch wheels with knobs for the depth of the effect, and various buttons to switch on and off modulation destinations, enable chord memory, transpose the keyboard, or infinitely sustain notes. The case is black metal with fluorescent displays to indicate the status of different synthesis parameters, see Figure 1, and black rubberized end pieces. Other version, possible earlier, may have gloss-painted wood ends. Back panel. The back panel is unusual in that it is tilted from vertical so that the connectors can be seen from the front of the instrument. There are 1/4-inch jacks for recording data to cassette tape, sustain and program change foot pedal jacks, MIDI in-out and through DIN connectors, a monaural 1/4-inch audio output, a 1/4-inch headphone jack, and memory protect and power switches. Some models have a voltage selection for the power supply on the underneath of the synth. Keyboard. The keyboard is 5 octaves, 61 notes, C to C, and is unweighted. It has velocity, but not aftertouch sensitivity. The output MIDI velocity values span the full range up to 127, but only discrete steps are used. In other words, not every integer value from 1 to 127. It uses rubber keypad-type membrane switches, rather than J-wires. A common issue can be keys not working. This can be due to contamination under these pads. Voice architecture and sound programming. Voice architecture. The synthesizer voices are somewhat similar to those found in the Roland JX-3P or Tasco SX-240 in that there are 2 oscillators referred to as OSC per voice, with the option of sawtooth and slash or square waveforms. These oscillators are controlled digitally with analog circuitry used only to create the sawtooth wave shape. OSC2 can be synchronized to OS cone, or the 2 oscillators can be cross-modulated. The OSC can be separated by semitone intervals up to 4 octaves and tuned to approximately a semitone. There is pulse width modulation of the square wave of OS cone with a dedicated low-frequency oscillator LFO for this and a square wave sub-oscillator. OSC2's pitch can be modulated by one of the 2 ADSR envelope generators, which are dedicated to VCA volume and VCF cutoff frequency. The filter is a 24 dB/octave 4-pole resonant low-pass type, and there is also a separate 12 dB/octave high-pass filter that is not envelope controlled. Tracking of filter cutoff frequency with keyboard position is fully variable, allowing for sounds to become either brighter or darker as higher notes are played. Keyboard velocity can affect volume and slash or filter cutoff. The modulation section of this synthesizer features 4 low-frequency oscillators. 3 of these each have 4 available waveforms: sine, square, sawtooth, and ramp, and these LFO are dedicated to filter cutoff and pitch of each of the 2 oscillators. These also have a programmable delay before their effect sets in. The fourth LFO is dedicated to pulse width modulation of OS cone, and only its rate and depth are programmable. There is also a programmable output level for each patch to help balance loud and soft sounds. Notably missing from the voice architecture are white noise and portamento. Performance controls. The AX80 has knobs for master volume and tuning, and a data entry knob that can be used to alter the currently selected parameter in real time, although the value will jump to the knob's current position. There are various switches to select modulation destinations controlled by the modulation, wheel filter, and pitch to enable chord memory or infinite sustain of notes, and to select or edit sounds. The pitch bend and modulation wheels also have knobs governing the depth of the effect of each. Foot switches can control sustain or switch sounds by moving up one patch at a time. Midi implementation. The AX80 has fairly standard Midi implementation for an instrument of this vintage, with the ability to use any channel 1-16 for transmission or reception. These can be set separately. The instrument does not recognize the Midi tuning request, nor does it allow for saving or loading sounds patches to a computer via system-exclusive data dumps. Designer. The AX80 was designed by Kazuo Morioka. He previously ran his own synthesizer company, Hillwood, also known as Firstman, from 1972 up until the early 1980s, with his synthesizers released by Multivox in North America before joining Akai in the early 1980s. He also designed other Akai music studio system instruments in the early 1980s, such as the MG1212 multitrack tape recorder. Accessories. When it was released, Akai advertised various accessories for the AX80: a footswitch PS80, the SC80 flight case, HC80 hard case, SC80 soft case, and a vinyl dust-covered DC80. Use in recorded music. An AX80 appears in the video for Kim Mitchell's song All We Are, played by Pi Dubois, although the manufacturer's name is blacked out. Greek synth-pop duo Marshall and UK alternative act Space Hotel are also said to use the AX80, as is 90s dance act Rodeo Jones and Mark Bell of LFO on Bjork's Homogenic album. Literature. Full-page advertisements with the slogan Simply Awesome ran in Keyboard magazine during the mid-1980s. The AX80 also appears in the price lists at the end of both editions of Mark Vail's vintage synthesizers. The second edition contains a footnote. If you can get around the interfaces on the Akai AX series synths, was Taggart of Analogics Geneva, Ohio, USA reports that a good-sounding synth lies beneath. Jim Aiken reviewed the AX80 in Keyboard magazine in January 1985. Keyboard also printed a capsule summary in its new product profile spec sheet feature. There is also a 2-page review and complete guide to synthesizers, sequencers, and drum machines by Dean Friedman,